All right, folks, we are live for the night. It is June 12th, 2025. And unfortunately, we have a World War III and XRP update for you tonight. Full coverage of the current events, financial markets. First and foremost, I do want to say that we got to put people before profit. It sickens me that in today's day and age, we're at times more focused on our portfolios than the people and the lives that are being lost during these events. And so I want to say people, right, over profit, but profit most definitely over politics. We are going to make sure that we are positioned, and we have made sure that our portfolio is straight for an event just like this one. It appears that this might be the big one. We've been talking about some of these previous catalysts that weren't quite the big one that breaks the market completely, but this might be the one. With Israel striking Iran here today, the capital, and wiping out what appears to be most of their generals and most of the scientists behind their nuclear program. It appears to have been a pretty successful strategic attack with a wave 2 underway right now as we speak. This is a developing situation. I have a fully stacked lineup for tonight. We're going to get right on into the show. I had to put out that caveat to start though, right? People over profit, but profit over politics. That's the context and the approach for tonight's update. We are praying for peace, but we got to do what we can to protect our family. That includes our portfolio and how we have been positioned. There's a reason why we've had a prepping channel in my Discord group going back for the past 4 or 5 years now, that we've had that private community. We've been absolutely over the target with our market analysis. And, just yesterday, I took some chips off the table as far as my leveraged position. I'm still holding everything spot. And I saw this breaking here just over the past couple hours. I did not rush to hit the sell button on anything. I already took profit on my XRP long positions. The leverage position that I did have, that was closed out yesterday. I captured my profit on that. And I literally said to my Discord group yesterday, I said, guys, I'm securing my profit and I'm going to start praying for peace. Sure enough, here we are. It's breaking wide open right now with Israel attacking Iran. And what I'm most worried about is the retaliatory strikes back from Iran, and not just in the Middle East, but across the entire regions of the West. I'm talking over in Europe. I'm talking here back in the United States. They are not going to go silently. There is no chance that they do not respond with force. And what I'm worried about is that they've really been backed into a corner here. If it is true that they successfully wiped out all of the generals, or most of the generals, it appears that one of their chiefs has been wiped out, along with their top nuclear scientists, they're going to feel backed into a corner. And I worry that this is the moment where they really set it off. And we're already fighting our own battles back here at home in the United States of America. For those of you guys in Europe, you're fighting your own battle back home in your homeland, aren't you? And now this is popping off global scale. And we really had been waiting on this one to pop off, right? All of these previous events, we said, guys, this isn't enough. And I, we joked. I wanted to just joke and make a joke of it, right? And say, they're going to have to bring out the aliens. They're going to have to do this. They're going to have to drop the bomb. I said it lightheartedly, but it's absolutely no joke. We've been waiting for this to go off. We didn't want to see it play out like this, but it appears that is the acceleration of the World War III events. And let's give it a full breakdown here. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. If you haven't already, please help us out by sharing out the stream. TikTok, can you guys tap it, smack it, and share it out for me? YouTube and X, if you guys could like this, share it out for us. Let's get everybody in here for a full breakdown analysis, and then we will be taking Q&A as we go as well. I see a super chat just hit from Dennis, and I appreciate that, Dennis. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Now, we're going to keep it rocking and rolling here tonight. Neil with the 5-spot. Genius Act bill set for a vote next week. It's so true. All of the dominoes are in place. All of the dominoes are in place. They are starting to fall. And it is time for us to pray. And the beautiful thing is that we've already been positioned, haven't we? We've been talking about keeping some dry powder. And I took my chips off the table yesterday. Let's get right on into the update. Israeli forces say military operation against Iran is expected to last several days. At the end of the operation, there will be no nuclear threat. So they're going all in. Israel has launched a second wave of airstrikes against Iran, with explosions reported in multiple cities in Iran's Natanz nuclear facility now engulfed in flames. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says tonight Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Despite Israeli media trying to claim that we have been involved, Secretary of State Marco Rubio coming out and denying any involvement from the United States. Now, we continue. President Trump just earlier today had reiterated that point, that you are on your own if Israel strikes Iran. Trump told Netanyahu, if Israel hits Iran, it's flying solo. Reports have surfaced that the U.S. won't join any Israeli military strike, even as nuclear talks teeter on collapse. Pentagon canceled CENTCOM chief's Israel visit, signaling sharp distance. Trump says Israeli strikes might very well happen, but warned against spoiling a last shot at diplomacy. Well, if there was any shot at diplomacy, that's definitely been put on pause for the time being. And the missiles, the bombs are going to be dropping here for the foreseeable future. And we'll have to see. I'll tell you, we'll talk about the markets here later, but we still got to get through this. U.S. officials expect significant retaliatory strikes from Iran against Israel, and Israel will then ask for the United States to help counter Iran, per the Washington Post. And I think that they were citing a military general, U.S. military general, that is, from the Washington Post. Now, I hesitate to take anything that the Washington Post puts out right now, but I can, this is really been the situation in the relationship between the United States and Israel for quite some time, right? And so we'll have to watch this closely. The reports right now are that Iranian general staff, including the head of the general staff of the military and several senior Iranian nuclear scientists, have all been eliminated tonight. The entire Iranian general staff eliminated, with several senior Iranian nuclear facility scientists as well. Like I said, if they were successful, they've backed them into the corner, and this is when they could get desperate, and this is when things could get really nasty, because it's not just what's going to pop off in the Middle East, it's what's going to be happening across the entire world. Now, this is all happening, all these World War III events, external conflict. And for those of you guys, if you haven't read Changing World Order by Ray Dalio, I would encourage you to do so. It's a book up on my shelf behind me. Great read. And this is something that we talked about. The falling empire of America and the West getting caught up in internal chaos and strife, while at the same time being spread too thin, as so many empires have in the past. Our interest payments exceeding our defense spending. We've talked about how our empire has been at the maximum threshold at which we can spread our tentacles across this planet. The military-industrial complex doesn't accept that answer, though, and they want to continue. But we see the external chaos hitting at the very same time that the internal chaos is getting set off in another, some might say, Summer of Love round 2 is really kicking off back here home in the United States of America. And so we get a kangaroo court judge ordering California's National Guard to be returned to the command of Governor Gavin Newsom's control, per court ruling. So a U.S. judge just temporarily bars Trump from deploying California National Guard in Los Angeles. Now, I'm very interested to see how this plays out, because we already got our Marines have been deployed in a support role to back up the National Guard, which President Trump had brought under his control. And now we're seeing another kangaroo court judge step up and say, no, the National Guard gets returned back to Governor Gavin Newsom. And so we're going to have to watch and see, because what I'm worried about is you have the internal strife and chaos that's already really picking up in cities across America. And now you have even more reason and you're going to see more agents being activated back in America. We've already seen agents being activated, and I'm talking about Antifa and little silly stuff. But what I worry about is the retaliatory actions, strikes, and potential terrorist attacks that could be developing from in response to what just took place here today. Now, Michael Gayed, we're going to shift into the markets here. Once again, people over profit, but profit over politics. That's our context. Let's take a look. Michael Gayed with the context here. Tariffs weren't enough to crash stocks, saving bonds, but maybe war is. Like and repost if you understand. Many of you guys understand this very well. And I heard Michael Gayed was the first person that I heard bring up the Japan carry trade in the reverse, Japan reverse carry trade. And this is a little over a year ago. And then I know Jake Claver has been talking about this as well too. And when these guys brought this up, I said, okay, what's going on here? And we started to look in. And the crazy part about this is the Japan carry trade is just the spark. It's just what ignites the fire. And what we start to see happen after this is cascading liquidations from a global margin call. They needed an excuse, right? And the tariffs weren't enough. The tariffs didn't break us. I was joking about how they're going to have to pull out the aliens to break this market. Well, and then, I said the other thing is they'll drop the big one. Well, thank God we don't have any nuclear bombs dropped yet. And I'm going to try to speak that into existence that does not happen. We're praying for peace. But the strikes are underway, and this could quickly accelerate as it's impacting the markets right now. The financial impact is, not to underplay the loss of life at all, but the financial impact that this is going to have in markets is going to be rippling across our markets. We're going to be looking at circuit breakers potentially being hit tomorrow. How quickly this is going to break and unwind. We've already seen over 300 million liquidated from the cryptocurrency market so far. From a technical perspective, Israel struck Iran at the exact right moment. If they can crash the markets before June 20th, OpX, then create a vicious unwind of market maker positions. The VIX contract rolls occurred yesterday, so it was planned. Like I said, they needed an excuse, right? And what's so interesting too is that this sets us up for the Fed to maybe respond next week with an interest rate decision that's due on June 17th and 18th. So the Fed doesn't have to come forward and have an emergency rate cut, but what a convenient way for the Fed to have the cover to say, well, we weren't going to give rate cuts for President Trump and what he did with his tariffs, but since this is taking place, we can slip in a rate cut and use that as an excuse. And the problem is that the inflation's already going to be running away. The inflation already ticked back up per the CPI lie this week, per the producer price index that we got as well too. Now, they didn't increase as much as expectations, but they're heading back higher. And now we're watching oil take off like a meme coin. Take a look here at your oil chart, spiking up to $74 per barrel as we record this update. Now, where does it hit the Japan carry trade? Live crude oil price in yen. That's where it's going to hit us right here. Look at that chart. Live crude oil price in yen, spiking like a meme chart right there. Okay? So this is all breaking right now. And the crazy part too is that we had record oil shorts right before this hit. Zero Hedge posts, maybe it wasn't the smartest idea to have record oil shorts. So what happens is the Bank of Japan has to break and panic here. They're going to be forced into it because their bond yields are already at the highest level in the past 40 years. And the margin call is already starting to happen. The reverse carry trade's already starting to unwind. But this is pouring gasoline on the fire, right? And what happens is that oil spikes in yen, And this is what breaks the Bank of Japan, because they already have been battling record inflation. And to fight inflation, you actually raise rates. But the problem there is that everybody had cheap debt taken out in Japan. That's what the reverse carry trade was, is you took out cheap debt when the interest rates were, the real rates were negative, and we're at 1% or less than 1%. And now they've finally gone up to, I think, maybe 3 or 4%, which is the highest level in the past 40 years for the Japan bonds. And so the remedy for fighting inflation only breaks the market worse, only unwinds the reverse carry trade even faster. And it's the same situation back home in the United States. That's why I included Jerome Powell in the thumbnail of this video as well, with his, in the thumbnail, he's holding up the, how high is inflation going to go? How high is oil going to go? Well, and this is the problem, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see, because we have to be concerned about inflation coming back. But at the same time, if the Fed does slip in the rate cut right here, it actually doesn't do anything to help our situation at all, right? Now, it will ease up conditions, and it will bring back and really, once again, fuel more inflation. And that's going to be great for our asset prices. But we have to understand the impacts that that's going to have back on Main Street. Okay. Now, continuing, 335 million already liquidated. And I would bet that that's actually more. This was posted. This was actually posted nearly an hour and a half, almost 2 hours ago, actually. So I would wager that this has actually increased the amount of liquidations that we've seen here in the past 60 minutes. Yep. Let's actually, I meant to take a quick look here at our crypto markets while we get into it. Yeah, Bitcoin broke below 104. And so let's take a look here at Bitcoin. 103.8 right now. It pulled all the way back to 102.7. Still not lower than the low that we hit here in on June 5th, right? So just a week ago, we had that big Elon Musk, Donald Trump feud, and that pulled us back all the way here to 100,400. Now think about this. Now, I don't want to call it too soon, right? Because we're only a few hours into this, the volleys back and forth. If this does continue, we definitely could drop below. But that's the crazy thing about this market, is that Bitcoin had already ran back up to 110 earlier this week. And now that this is hitting, it's brought us back down, but not even below the level that we were at when President Trump and Elon Musk were having a little tizzy. Now, if this does continue, and it's likely that it will, we could definitely break down lower. But I want to be very clear with how I think this plays out. This is a very strong V-shaped recovery, just like we saw in 2020. It's going to feel like the world is ending. A lot of people are going to be not taking any action because they're going to be scared that the world is ending, instead of buying the blood in the streets like we should have been doing during 2020, and like we basically have been doing ever since, right? 2020, I learned my lesson, right? And every single crash that we've had since, including FTX, all the way to the banking crisis in 2023, we've just been buying, right? And I was thinking about entering a fresh Bitcoin short tonight, but like I said, I was busy just watching Twitter, and I just didn't have the stomach in me to trade this thing. Like, I already took my chips off the table yesterday on my XRP long. That was the only leverage that I had. And I'm just like, I didn't have the stomach in me to be focused on my portfolio right now, knowing that I'm not over leveraged. I can hold spot, and we still have dry powder to feed the family, or, buy the dip. And that's what we've been doing. And that's what we're going to continue to do. Like I said, I'm going to buy the alien dip. I didn't even want to make the joke about it, because it's just, lives are at stake. The World War III dip, but that's where we're at. It almost sickens me how much we're focused on our portfolios versus people losing their lives. But this is what we're up against. This is navigating reality in 2025. Is understanding how to thrive in the middle of a world war, in the middle of internal chaos. Some would say that we might be on the brink of a civil war in the United States of America. this is why I've been so, drawn to my mentor, Dan Pena, because he's taught me to run towards the gunfire and eliminate any enemy in sight. That's my training. We've been training for this moment to have no fear. Of course, we pray for peace before we sit down at the desk and figure out which trade to make, because I put people before profit. But we are going to cut and slash our way through this opportunity. Don't be mistaken. It's our only choice. The alternative is to have analysis paralysis or just be too scared to take action. And you will be left behind, right? And so we've been waiting and training ourselves emotionally, even spiritually, I would say, for this exact moment. Now, Bitcoin is broke down below 104. Let's see if we continue bleeding. XRP broke below 210, back down to 209. Let's zoom in on my chart right here. And you can see that I had this purple box taking us all the way out to June 11th. It just so happened that, one day after we break below, this is the Friday candle, the Friday, June 13th candle that started right here. But basically, one day after my target here, we're back down. Like I said, I was anticipating us to break down into this purple box, run back up into the June 11th CPI release. Wasn't expecting World War III to break out this week, but that's what happened. So here we are, we're breaking back down into these levels, but we have the June 17th Fed meeting right around the corner. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that on the 14th, it's President Trump's birthday on Flag Day. And I believe that's actually the same day that our military was born as well, too, which I don't believe that to be a coincidence. But we've been saying, hey, this is a military operation all the way to the role that XRP plays as a neutral bridge currency, all the way to ROUSD being brought to the XRP ledger, all the way to the news that just dropped today, USDC being brought to the XRP ledger. Both ROUSD and USDC, derivatives of the US dollar, which, to quote President Trump at the Bitcoin conference in 2024, stablecoins are going to be key to expanding US dollar dominance, especially at a moment when we have over 7 trillion of debt to roll over 36 trillion already on our debt, a big, beautiful bill that's going to add anywhere from 2 to 5 trillion to our deficit. We need somebody to show up and buy treasuries. How do you do so? Well, if you were the powers that be trying to figure out how to get people to buy these, you absolutely scare the hell out of the market. That's how you do it. You break the back of this market. You make the crypto bros capitulate. You make the people that are in stocks panic. And that's when they return back to bonds. You want a little bit better of a solution as well, too? You pass the Genius Act, which is due for a vote next week. And you pass that stablecoin legislation, which unlocks 2 trillion of demand. Like I said, unlocking 2 trillion of demand through the stablecoins does not solve the entire problem. This is a massive problem. And this is where the old model of problem, reaction, solution plays out before us. Amidst all of this, everything that's taking place, there's a little staged lawsuit taking place over here. For the few people, the few million people that see what's playing out. Now think about this for a second. There's a lot of people that understand what's taking place with the current events, with the markets. You got guys like Michael Gayad. I've had him on my show talking about the reverse carry trade, talking about XRP. Michael still hesitant to really move into XRP. So I want to make that point. There's a lot of people tapped in that understand what's taking place, but they haven't made it all the way to understanding the role of XRP being that neutral bridge currency and the best solution for liquidity on the other side of this. There's 6 million wallets, 6.5 million wallet addresses on the XRP ledger. I have half a dozen. At least. I might have over 10, maybe 12 XRP wallets. In fact, I just downloaded the Joey wallet, which I do have linked up down below for you guys as well too. The Apple link from the Apple App Store for the Joey wallet, I do have it linked up in the description of the video. If you search it on the Apple Store, you have to like scroll all the way down to find it. So that's going to take some time for that to get refreshed and updated, and then it should be easier to find. But right now, you have to like scroll all the way down. But I made it easy for everybody. But that's another XRP wallet address that I'm creating. That's not a new XRP user or, you know, new person holding XRP, but that's coming. And the point that I'm trying to make is that you got guys like me with a few XRP wallets. Some of you guys have a few XRP wallets. So knowing that there's only 6.5 million XRP wallet addresses total tells me that there's only a few million people in XRP. There's only a few million people. You are part of a chosen select few that can see how this all comes together and knows what the solution is. Because it's not just gold and silver being tokenized. You have to tokenize it on a ledger with a neutral bridge currency that's as liquid as a G10 currency. And what has Ripple been working on since their inception for over a decade now? And you're seeing, I don't want to say bombs dropping because of what's taking place, but you're seeing one after another, these big news events that have taken place for XRP, and people are wondering, well, why isn't this impacting price yet? Because the inflows haven't started to come in yet. XRP is still relatively unknown to the greater population. I mean, I feel kind of ridiculous sitting here talking about my little Joey meme coin, my little Joey wallet. Meanwhile, there's a war going on, for crying out loud. And, you know, all day I was hyped on the Joey wallet. We're going to onboard another 10 million people to the XRP ledger. And then World War III breaks out. But this V-shaped recovery is going to be felt so strong in XRP as more and more people realize how big of a role XRP plays as that solution. Now, the first step is getting the masses to understand that the SEC versus Ripple case is over. We are crossing T's and dotting I's. While all of this takes place here today, we get an update on our SEC versus Ripple lawsuit. Now, let's take a look at it from James Phelan. The parties have renewed their request for an indicative ruling. Eleanor Terrett says the filing argues that exceptional circumstances, including a settlement, the SEC's shift in crypto policy, and a desire to avoid further litigation, justify modifying Judge Torres' final judgment. This follows her May decision, where she denied a similar request for modification. So remember, this is attempt number 2. The SEC and Ripple already filed something like this. So this is a second filing, a second try at this. And we got a response here from one of our trusted lawyers in the XRP community, Fred Rispoli. He's not impressed with this filing from the SEC and Ripple. Sounds like Fred wishes that they would have put in a little bit more work to make sure that Judge Torres is going to accept this. Take a look at this one, guys. In the newest saga of the SEC versus Ripple case, I don't like this filing based on how obvious it was from Judge Torres' last ruling that she was pissed off. I recommended a long, detailed motion explaining the SEC's failures in crypto regulation with commissioner declarations and some apologies from Ripple for what it got tagged on. You know, basically, we need to ask for forgiveness. The SEC needs to ask for forgiveness, and Ripple needs to admit, yes, we did speed. We're going to pay our speeding ticket, which is what this is in the securities world. You caught us speeding. We're going to pay our speeding ticket. And for the SEC, well, they really are the ones that need to ask for forgiveness, dragging this case on for 4 years. But instead, we got one paragraph on the other SEC dismissals and a paltry mention of the SEC Crypto Task Force. The parties cite enough law for the court to grant it, but they also did the same in the last one that was denied. this is up to pure discretion on Judge Torres whether to grant, and I don't think that this gets it done, sadly, in my opinion. Fred Rispoli saying that this does not get accepted by Judge Torres. One of the rare whiffs we've seen in the legal acumen of Ripple's counsel. I'll be hopefully optimistic that Judge Torres reads the room and is willing to just get this case off her plate, but my confidence is low. That said, leaving the injunction in place is not a death knell. Ripple can still sell XRP to institutions, just not in the same way it did pre-2018. Conservative institutions will be hesitant to get involved. More forward-thinking ones will not. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Is Judge Torres, who was selected by Obama — judges aren't supposed to be political, but we know how it goes — I thought that Judge Torres was very fair in her summary judgment ruling. And the way that my feeling and the vibe that I got was that she just felt disrespected by the SEC mostly. After 4 years of this lawsuit, she serves up a penalty to Ripple, and then the SEC comes back and says, wait, hold up, we'd like to undo this. Forget about the 4 years of this lawsuit. We'd like to reel this one on back. And Judge Torres just wants her court to be respected. I thought it was fair. Now, if she doesn't accept this, though, that's when we have a problem, right? Because then Ripple has to decide whether or not they want to continue with their appeal. And they could do so, but it would only drag this process out further. We must hope and pray that Judge Torres accepts this. It'll reduce the fine down to $50 million. $75 million will get returned to Ripple, and the interest on that $125 million that they set aside will get returned to Ripple. They will pay that fine of $50 million. The injunction would be lifted, and Ripple would have basically no concern about selling XRP to institutions going forward, so long as that they did not wrap up those deals in investment contracts. Now, I know Fred noted there that it wouldn't be the end of the world, that they'd still be able to sell to institutions, just not how they previously did. But the fact of the matter is that Ripple already changed how they've been selling to institutions. There is no investment contract, which is why Ripple hasn't stopped selling XRP to institutions this entire lawsuit. They would only feel comfortable doing so if they already knew that they'd restructured their contracts successfully as to make them not investment contracts. The big thing here is market perception. You know, traditional conservative firms and institutions that want to make sure that they don't get in trouble at all, they might be scared to step in. Everybody else is going to say, hey, we see what's happening now at the SEC. Yes, you got in trouble, but going forward, we know that you've restructured these contracts. This is a straight up offer. You're going to sell us XRP for said price. That's the deal. That's not an investment contract. And they're going to feel fine going ahead with that. But the big thing here is market perception. And if Judge Torres does not accept this, she denies this, then you already know what's going to happen to XRP's price short term. Is it the end of the world? Absolutely not. And I really don't even want to talk about that scenario, because I think that we just need to manifest and speak it into existence that Judge Torres is going to accept this. She is going to read the room. She is going to understand that this was a previous SEC that went too far, right? The appeal was filed under that previous SEC, for crying out loud, 5 days. Gary Gensler did it 5 days before he left office. And so hopefully Judge Torres will read the room and say, okay, this is enough. I'm going to accept this agreement, and I don't want to see you guys in my courtroom ever again. Okay? At least the SEC and Ripple together. I don't want to see you guys ever again. I'm going to accept this, but get the hell out of my courtroom. Hey, let's hope and pray that that's what happens. Just signed up with Caleb and Brown. Thanks, Zach. Hey, great. Great. I'm glad to hear that you got in touch with them. I've been so impressed with Caleb and Brown. At the end of this episode, actually, I'm going to mention the various different wallets and exchanges that I'm using and why I'm using them. And Caleb and Brown is the one of the platforms that I'm using. Mostly I have XRP on Uphold and Caleb and Brown, and those are my trading bags. That's XRP that I do plan on selling. All of my long-term holdings I still have off of any exchanges or platforms like that. But I'm going to explain basically where and why I'm using the various platforms and wallets that I'm using here later in this episode. I want to catch up on our super chats here. Lowell, thank you for the 5 spot. I appreciate that, Lowell. Gotta be XRP. Greg, great to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. You would expect the SEC to eventually tuck their tail and run, kind of like you did when I signed us up for karaoke in Vegas. Oh no, Greg calling me out. And you know what, Greg? Darn it. Here's the truth, brother. I was dying in there. They had no AC in the cat's meow. And it was what I was looking forward to almost all weekend. I mean, I wanted to meet David Schwartz and Brad Goinghouse, and I wanted to see the XRP family. But I was really looking forward to Cat's Meow singing karaoke with you, brother. And I told you, I know you brought up Backstreet Boys. Goodness gracious. And honestly, I was just a few drinks away. And if they would have had AC, I would have stayed. And we probably would have been singing it. What is the song? That Way by Backstreet Boys? Yeah. That would have happened. In an alternative reality where the Cat's Meow had their AC rocking and rolling, I was just a couple adult bevies away from that happening. But I said I knew. We go to sing. I'm going to see it on Twitter tomorrow morning. Greg, Zach, and it was with Tyler too. Me, Greg, and Tyler from the Ty Project. Tyler, he's the one who makes our dog tags, right? Huge shout out to Tyler. We were talking, me, Tyler, and Greg, trying to pick a song. But they had no AC in the Cat's Meow, Greg. I had to dip. I'm sorry. I had to get out of there. It was a cooker. But I was getting warmed up. I was looking forward to it, man. I really was. I appreciate you, Greg. Yeah. I didn't tuck my tail and run though. I was dying. The AC was killing. No AC was killing me there. Next year though, we are overtaking the Cat's Meow once again though. That's guaranteed. I can't guarantee Backstreet Boys, but we'll sing something. We'll sing something. The only time I've done karaoke was I sang "Country Roads, Take Me Home" by John Denver. Classic. That's the only time I've done karaoke publicly at a public bar. At the get-togethers, I've hit it a few times. So no karaoke and no arm wrestling. Now, abs. Speaking of tucking the tail between the legs and running, that was abs. I sized up abs, and after that, I didn't see them. I see abs in the spot. He pulls up. I showed him what the grip was all about, and I never saw him again. He just left on me. I don't know what happened. Dennis, thank you. BSB karaoke, larger than life in Vegas and Bangkok. Nobody beats Dennis. Let's go. Let's go, Dennis. You better be in Vegas next year. Okay. All right, guys. I want to finish off here because I still have a few more things, guys. Understand. Right now, it's all in Judge Torres' hands. So either she's going to accept this, or we're going to have to see if Ripple wants to continue with the appeal process and how that's going to impact their business going forward. But it's up to Judge Torres right now. And Fred Rispoli also said, that we should hear. Sorry, I'm just reading comments. And somebody said there's a spider. You guys are distracting me. Is there a spider? Fred said that we should hear from Judge Torres in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Okay? Okay. Let's continue. We're not done, guys. This is the lineup that we have right now. Check out these dates. On June 11th, we had, that was Ondo, which brought their treasuries to the XRP ledger. Vivo Power and Flare partnership marks major institutional XRP treasury move. And then we also have the EVM sidechain is announced that it's going to be going live in Q2, which is right now. That was all dropped yesterday at Apex. Now today, we get the announcement of Circle going live on the XRP ledger. So we now have 5 major stablecoins and legitimate issuers behind them, with USDC, the Singapore dollar, the Euro dollar, ROUSD, and the USDB. That's the Brasa Bank Brazilian Real on the XRP ledger. We also have Ripple and the SEC file their second joint letter to Judge Torres today. Now on June 16th, the Ripple versus SEC status report deadline is due. Judge Torres could have issued her order by this time. So basically, we need Judge Torres to respond by Monday. Monday is the 16th. On Tuesday, the Senate votes on the final passage of the Genius Act. How perfect the timing of that one, huh? June 17th is the deadline for Franklin Templeton's spot XRP ETF. That takes us into the Fed meeting, June 17th and 18th, and the next interest rate decision. And then on June 25th, we have the ProShares date for the XRP ETF. Now, according to Bloomberg analysis, it looks like they're preparing to actually approve the Solana ETFs potentially this month. And I do believe that the XRP ETFs would be shortly behind, if not at the same exact time as the Solana ETFs. But we're watching this closely here because this month just has key events and dates one after another. And now we have World War III popping off all in the middle of it. Now, speaking of the ETFs, this is Nate Garassi. He says, by the way, I still fully expect BlackRock to file for spot Solana and XRP ETFs. So is that what we're waiting for? We got this staged lawsuit. We got all these other players that have filed for their ETFs. Meanwhile, what are we actually waiting for? Larry Fink and BlackRock to pull the trigger. And you better believe that they're coming. Just like Nate says, as a leader in both the spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, it would make zero sense to cede other top crypto asset ETF categories to competitors. They're not going to let it happen. BlackRock just reiterated their goal to become the largest crypto asset manager in the world. They went from pet rock to Larry Fink describing how cryptocurrency transcends traditional currencies. And he also says that he expects BlackRock to file for index-based crypto asset ETFs that will also be backed by XRP as well, too. So it's not only the spot XRP ETFs, which will be backed by XRP, but these index-based crypto asset ETFs will be physically backed as well, too. And this is when we get that supply shock on XRP. Now, I already mentioned this. You have 5 stablecoins, Ripple announcing USDC live on the XRP ledger, and that's issued by Circle. The Singapore dollar is going to be issued by StraightX. The Euro dollar is going to be issued by Schumann Financial, and the Brazilian Real by Brasa Bank, who also issued a US dollar derivative as well. So now they basically have end-to-end liquidity between the US dollar and Brazilian Real with the Brasa Bank and what they've done by issuing both currencies on the XRP ledger. We're not done. What also dropped today? You thought it was a big announcement. The company, Vivo Power, backed by the Saudi prince. And then we had another company come forward, and it was like 100 million corporate US corporate XRP treasury. And then the next one was 200 million. And now We have Singapore-based Trident Digital, which is a public company on the NASDAQ, another one, plans to raise $500 million to establish the world's first large-scale corporate XRP reserve, involving long-term XRP holding, staking, and deep engagement in the Ripple ecosystem to strengthen its decentralized finance strategy. All of these dominoes dropping. All of these catalysts for the XRP ledger. You think I'm done? I'm not done. The other one, I know it's silly. I know it's stupid. Remember, the Joey meme coin has nothing to do with the wallet. That's a stupid meme coin. That's separate. But this Joey wallet, going to be absolutely massive for onboarding the masses. I already loaded it up myself today, and it took me less than 60 seconds, making a couple errors in fumbling around a little bit, and it still took me a minute to onboard with this new Joey wallet. And what I'm showing you right here on the screen is a Sol Bro. What's a Sol Bro? A Solana Bro, right? Look at his name, Solana Sailor. This is a Solana Bro pumping up the XRP ecosystem. Now, for better or for worse, these degens are coming. That's the problem with open source permissionless ledger, is that we have now let the degens have woke up to the fact that they can come play in the XRP ledger digital casino. So don't be exit liquidity for the Solana bros, but let them come in here and burn up XRP and lock XRP and play around and bring liquidity to the XRP ledger. That's what we're witnessing right now. Solana Sailor. Is he pumping up Solana in this post? Absolutely not. He's pumping up XRP. He says, just downloaded Joey Wallet on the App Store, dropped today. XRP finally feels friendly, fast, and fun to use. Meanwhile, the Joey meme coin, unofficial, like I said, no relation to the wallet, keeps showing strength. Big day for the Joey fam. Now, let me pull it up real quick just so that we can take a look and I can show you what I'm talking about. I tried to tell you guys that this one was going to be a runner. Take a look at it here. We don't want that. We want the daily chart. Now, obviously, it is pulling back right now with the rest of the markets. But look at what this sucker did today. Look at this green candle that got printed today. This thing went all the way up to 0.002. And I made a little silly video in my shed today. Did you guys see my video in my garden shed? And I joked about how I set it up on the tee for you guys, and I swung and I hit the ball. And I said we knocked it out of the park once again. I was referring to this consolidation on the chart. And for the past few weeks, I mean, this project came out at the end of April. I got into this thing right away. But this thing came out at the end of April. And you had all of May to get a position on this coin, knowing that this wallet was going to go live and people are going to do what people do. They wait till the wallet goes live and then they ape into the coin. So, by the way, I did have to shoot that video 3 times because I swung and missed. Well, on my first shot, I missed and I hit the tee and I missed and I just whiffed. I hit the tee and knocked it over. It was an absolute joke. I was like, oh crap, I can't have that one. So I shot it a second time and I swung and I missed right over the top of the ball. And then on the third and final one, that's when I nailed it. And that's the video that I posted earlier today. And the point that I was trying to make is, guys, we told you it was coming for the past month. And sure enough, here it is on the chart. And this is what I was saying. We set it on the T for you right here. This consolidation all through the month of May. And then we started to run up here into the beginning of the month. And even this pullback that we had, that was just yesterday. A little pullback before we launched up to a new all-time high. But like I said, that's just a silly meme coin. I'm not here to show memes. I'm not here to tell you to buy into this meme coin. I just play around a little bit with the degens and them just having some fun over there. It's not a big deal. But the point being is this wallet is going to help us onboard millions of more people to our ecosystem. This is just one of many catalysts that you saw me just break down, from corporate treasuries approaching nearly $1 billion worth of XRP that's being committed to corporate treasury accounts. Nearly $1 billion so far, just from 3 public companies. 3 public companies already committing $1 billion. You combine this with the USDC stablecoin, combine it with the other stablecoins that are now live. Combine it with Brad Garlinghouse saying that we're going to capture 14% of SWIFT in the next 5 years. That pool of liquidity would need to handle 700 billion daily. If we truly do capture 14% of SWIFT, we have to have over 700 billion of daily liquidity. That's just for that use case. That does not include 3 companies that already parked $1 billion in XRP. This doesn't include me and you that got a big bag of XRP and we've buried it in our backyard. That doesn't include the degens that, for crying out loud, threw 50,000 XRP at pixelated pictures of penguins. That's happening right now. Not for me, but the degens. God bless them. God bless them. All of this pushes XRP higher. Not during a World War III event. For crying out loud, grow up. I'm speaking to anybody in the comments, and I'm sure there already has been some. I've finished my update, and we're going to go into Q&A right now. But before you leave me some crying, sad crybaby comment about XRP being down or your portfolio being down, we are at war. People over profit, profit over politics. That's how we're playing it. We took our profit yesterday. We still got a lot of profit on these positions that we hold, whether it be Joey. I know Zebek is still holding up really well. A lot of people got all worried about that one. It's not done. Some of these other plays that we've talked about recently, Stronghold is the most recent one that I've mentioned. I just, over doubled my bag of DAG, another utility based in America that's actually partnered up with the Department of Defense. Out of any department to be partnered up with right now, being partnered up with the Department of Defense might be a good one, right? That military industrial complex ain't going anywhere, and they need secure data. That's a big use case right there. Completely undervalued, and I still think that we see a 10x. I want to go into rapid fire Q&A. I'm going to scan across the markets and see if I see anything that sticks out at me. XLM at 25 cents, Flare under 2 cents right now. XDC dropped down to 6 cents again. SHX did drop down slightly, but it's still at 0.012. Still up substantially from where it was not too long ago. Let me scroll down a little bit further. Zebek breaking down below that 0.004 level. A little bit of a consolidation here. Let's watch that one. Okay. My XRP futures contract, I took profit on it. So I bought in here at 211. I closed out my position yesterday and it was about 228 was the price of XRP. I secured about 20% profit on that trade before the bottom fell out here. DAG back down to 3.5 cents. It's so ridiculously undervalued. But I want to go to rapid fire Q&A. If you guys haven't already, please make sure you have liked this video. Help us out by sharing it out far and wide. I'm going to scan your guys' comments, questions, and let's get to it. It's happening right now, folks. President Trump reportedly told Israel not to strike Iran, per the Wall Street Journal. President Trump, he had already said today, you guys are going to be on your own. Spokesman of the Iran Armed Forces. Israel and the United States will receive a forceful slap, and Iran's armed forces would be retaliating in force soon with counterstrikes. He said a retaliation attack is definite, God willing. This is what I'm worried about. Because what Israel did was strategic military strikes, right? Targets. Now, is there collateral damage? 100%. 100% there's collateral damage. People that did not deserve to be involved in this are being brought into this. 100%. And that's why we're praying for peace. but they were pretty strategic with these attacks. But the response, because these attacks from the initial reports appear to be very successful in eliminating the top brass, some reports saying the entire generals, the entire lineup of generals of the armed forces from Iran have been wiped out, along with their top nuclear scientists, we're going to see a big response. And this is where I get concerned. What's going on with the Genius Act? It is going to be voted on next Tuesday. XCN, yeah, XCN. I haven't talked about that one in a while. $77 crude oil has arrived. See, this sends us into another wave of inflation. See, it's crazy because the Fed needs to cut rates so that we can roll over this debt and refinance this debt. And as the margin call, the global the reverse carry trade starts to unwind, it creates a global margin call, and everybody's going to need cheaper interest rates to refinance this debt to get bailed out. But by doing so, if the Fed does cut rates now, they're only going to be fueling that inflation even further. And the inflation reading that we just got yesterday is that inflation's ticking back up. Gold is near all-time highs once again. Yeah. Gold and silver, let's pull it up right now. Yeah. 3,461 for gold. Silver pushing towards $37 per ounce. And this is why I said at the very beginning of this episode, thankfully, we've already been positioned so well for this event. Emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Okay. Shannon says she's dying laughing at this spider talk. Where's the spider at, guys? Oh, maybe. Well, I do have a plant right there, and my fan's going. So my plant is probably moving around in the wind. Maybe that's it. Do we have a ghost in the room? You guys let me know if you see a ghost or an alien behind me, okay? I have my limit set up for the XRP dip. Love buying dips, and that's what it's all about. I still have my order at $2.03 to go long XRP once again. And I have more capital on the sidelines if we go even lower. I am going to buy the heck out of this dip. And I'm going to be going long. No fear. Absolutely no fear. How much lower do you think we can go? It's really tough to say because this, could be a war, right? A war that lasts a week. It could be something that lasts 30 to 60 days. But bleeding out for 30 days in crypto seems like an eternity, right? Because crypto is moving so fast. So 30 days, 60 days of war, it's going to be a rough one. It's going to be a rough one. You have to remember, though, we already had ran up. XRP ran up to 230, Bitcoin ran up to 110, and then this hit. So we have major support for Bitcoin at 100,000. We have major support for XRP at $2. And the investor class has been programmed to buy the dip no matter what. Like, I joke about it, but it's reality. Myself included. We have been so desensitized. I mean, I've joked about this. It could be live on CNN that we have alien motherships above 17 cities across America. What am I going to be doing? What are you going to be doing? Buying the dip. We're going to be pouring up an adult bevy, buying the dip, checking our garden, hugging our children, making sure that all of our precious metals are locked and loaded and ready to go. You know, if you know, you know. And what else can we do besides ask God to be with us? And we're going to ride this storm out. This only plays better into our hands. I hate to say it because, you know, you don't want to be profiting off this, but somebody always profits out off war. Might as well be us, is the way I look at it. We're going to profit off of the war without firing a shot. That's the way I look at this. That's how I can sleep at night. Now, Dennis, thank you for the 2 spot. I saw that. Thank you for all the super chats, guys. I wanted to let everybody know real quick. My current strategy for wallets and exchanges, because a lot of people have been asking me about this lately, and then the new Joey wallet shows up. People don't know if this is like a scam. They've heard me talking about this meme coin, and they're like, what the heck Zach talking about now? Some Joey wallet? What the hell is this? So I want to explain. So please understand, I do not put any XRP on exchanges with Caleb and Brown, Uphold, any of these platforms. First Ledger. I don't play around with any XRP on these platforms that I'm not willing to trade or sell off during this bull run. All of my long-term holdings are tucked away in cold storage. Now, I've had a Zaman wallet, which is a hot wallet, right? It's not full cold storage. It's still connected to the XRP ledger. And so I've used Zaman for a long time, and I have other cold storage devices. I'm not going to say which brands. I have some linked up down below and at my website. I've always said to folks, it's so nuanced depending on which cryptos you want to store, what wallets you feel comfortable with. I like Decent. I like EliPal. It's air gapped over there at EliPal. Decent's nice because of the options of cryptos that it holds. And at the end of the day, whatever cold storage device you feel comfortable with. Long-term holdings are off all of these platforms in cold storage. And then I have some XRP on Zaman. I have multiple wallets on Zaman. And I use different wallets for playing around in the AMM. I use different wallets for trading meme coins on the XRP ledger. And even other tokens on the XRP ledger, that might not even necessarily be meme coins. For example, like Sologenic. Is Sologenic a meme coin? I don't know. I'm still waiting to see the utility. I'm still, you know, they might as well be a meme coin until we get a little bit more utility out of Sologenic. I'd love to see that. You know, they're doing some good things with Solotex and the platform that's built on Corium. What they're building out with Corium's good. Solo, you know, I'm just using that as an example, though. I have multiple wallets through Zaman that I use for different things. AMM, meme coins, and I've created multiple wallets for trading the meme coins. And then from there, on Coinbase right now, I have very little XRP on Coinbase. Coinbase is where I'm trading the futures, where I'm shorting Bitcoin, where I'm going long XRP, and where I'm trading the futures market. And then I also have used Coinbase to stack some cryptos at times. Depending on, you know, I bought like DIA on there a few weeks ago, or like over a month ago now. It's been a couple months, I think, since I bought DIA on Coinbase. I'm probably down on that position. I don't even want to look right now. I've bought a few other cryptos on Coinbase. I have some XLM on Coinbase, but very little XRP on Coinbase, mostly for futures. And I have some smaller positions over there as well. On Uphold, that is where I actually have the most XRP that I have on any of these platforms or exchanges, right? So I have a chunk of XRP on Uphold. It's a chunk of XRP that I bought all during the past, 3-4 years that Coinbase delisted. And thank God Uphold allowed us to buy XRP. And so I have a considerable amount of, not even a considerable amount, because the amount of XRP that I do plan on selling is still small. So compared to my overall portfolio, what I have on Uphold is still small, but it's my biggest bag of XRP is on Uphold. I've been buying DAG on Uphold, and I've been buying some other cryptos on there too. I got, maybe a dozen cryptos on Uphold. So I got a nice bag on there. And then I've just recently added Caleb and Brown, and that is second place for the amount of XRP that I have on any exchange or brokerage platform, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's the best case and then I'm going to end up selling the most amount of XRP on Uphold versus Caleb and Brown. I'm still going to shift that around a little bit, right? And I actually have more XRP that I'm going to be loading up on Caleb and Brown to sell off during this bull run. Like I've told you guys publicly, and you don't really see this level of transparency from many other people. I try to be careful in how I do so, but I try to do so just in an effort of transparency so that you guys can see where I'm coming from. I want you to understand my biases, which really it's pretty simple. I'm just very bullish on XRP and other utility coins based in America. And sometimes I go to the degenerate casino and trade some memes. But I like to share this with you guys in an effort of transparency so you can understand where I'm coming from. With Caleb and Brown, I am uploading XRP on their platform right now because they have transparent fees and they're not going to hit me on slippage. So that's what I've been the most impressed with. Their customer service is unmatched. And then their level of institutional grade custody has me feeling pretty cozy over there compared to Uphold or even Coinbase, especially Coinbase. I really don't trust Coinbase at all. I still use them, but you guys know that I am not a fan. I'm not friendly with Coinbase, right? If I saw Brian Armstrong, I'd say, where the hell's my songbird, Brian? I'm not thrilled with Coinbase, but in the United States, they've locked down the futures markets, and so that's the only place I can trade futures. And then I've bought a few coins on there. But I've mostly been accumulating a bag of XRP on Uphold along with other cryptos. And then recently on Caleb and Brown, I've put XRP on there that I've made from trading meme coins. And then I also traded Zebek on Caleb and Brown as well too. And by the way, that went flawlessly as well, right? The day that I bought Zebek is the same day that I also set my sell orders. And that went through flawlessly. No slippage. And you have to understand how this can put you at ease when it comes to conducting your exit strategy. Because you can load up on Caleb and Brown and say, hey, I want you to sell this much XRP for me at 5, 10, and 20 bucks. And there's no limit to how high you can set that order. They'll do that for you. Versus on other platforms, they'll only let you set sell orders within a given range of the market price. So the nice thing with Caleb and Brown is you can set those higher orders. So in the case that XRP does go crazy, parabolic, you already have your orders set. And that's why with Zebek, I was worried. I didn't know how quickly it was going to pump to my targets of half a penny to a penny. And so I bought it on April 16th. I set my sell orders. And then a little over a month later, the thing pumps over 600%. And I captured 427% on that trade. So I did that on Caleb and Brown. And then on Caleb and Brown, I've also loaded up XRP from trading meme coins on Caleb and Brown as well too. I must say that I just withdrew a bag off of Caleb and Brown. Like, I'm not going to say how much, but just a bag. And this is the second big withdrawal, second or third withdrawal, but this is the biggest one I've done so far off of Caleb and Brown in my bank account within less than 24 hours. No problem. No fee, no withdrawal limits. And so I'm upping every time here. I've been upping the amount that I've been pulling off there, and I've had no issues whatsoever. No withdrawal fees, no withdrawal limit. So when it comes time for some of you guys with big bags, you're going to be cashing out 100,000, $1 million. You really are going to want to make sure that you're on a platform that's going to be able to find you that liquidity, is going to give you transparent fees up front. And I know a lot of people say, well, gosh, Caleb and Brown's going to squeeze me for 3.5%. Yes, but they're only going to hit you on the trading fee. And then when you go to cash out, there's no withdrawal fee, there's no withdrawal limit. And you're going to know exactly what you're going to get when you conduct that trade. They're not going to hit you on slippage. They use their own funds to get you your liquidity. And if you're, selling some XRP, and let's say you thinking that you're going to end up with $10,000 at the end of that trade, you're going to end up with $10,000 at the end of that trade. And now, as these numbers get bigger, for those of you guys that are saying, hey, I'm going to sell off 100,000 XRP at $10, and I'm expecting just shy of $1 million to land in my account, right? I'm going to pay that 3.5% fee, and the remainder is going to be cash heading to my bank account. They're going to get it done for you, right? And the fees will be upfront, and the amount of US dollars you will end up with is going to be upfront. That's very important, because where these other exchanges get you is on slippage. When the market's moving fast, you're going to get nailed on slippage. So you're going to think, oh, I'm selling XRP at $10, but they don't fill your order until it's at they fill your order at 960, 970, right? Maybe even lower. Depending on how fast this happens, that order book gets thin. And that's why I'm giving myself an opportunity on Caleb and Brown, on Uphold, and I'm also going to have XRP on Coinbase. I'm also going to be cashing out XRP to RLUSD using the DEX on the XRP ledger. Depending on what type of incentives get offered for USDC on the XRP ledger, we could even cash out from XRP to USDC on the XRP ledger as well too, without any middlemen involved. So I've set myself up. The reason why I'm running you guys through this whole story is to explain how I've positioned myself from a storage standpoint and from a trading standpoint, why I'm on these various platforms. Now, I see somebody just said Caleb and Brown doesn't have bankruptcy insurance. Let me be clear on that, because I asked Jim this, and I asked Caleb and Brown about this yesterday. I said, hey, getting some comments and questions from the community, and what we're wondering is, do you guys have insurance, and is it bankruptcy remote, along with other protections? And here is the answer that I got from Jim. I shared this in my Discord group earlier today. Caleb and Brown uses Fireblocks, right? And Fireblocks is one of the leading providers of institutional grade custody in the world, right? You have Fireblocks, you have Anchorage, you have Ripple Custody, and you have a few other providers that are basically the standard of institutional grade custody. So Caleb and Brown has their own insurances, but then Fireblocks possesses its own insurance policy should there be any compromise or hacking occurring on their end. And then he provided me the link for Fireblocks, how we meet institutional standards, insurance, compliance, and security. Now, this is also very important. If Caleb and Brown goes bankrupt, are you going to be a creditor, at the whim of the creditors of Caleb and Brown? Are they going to seize your assets? We've seen this happen with FTX and Celsius and others. Client assets are insolvency and bankruptcy remote, as they are held on trust by Caleb and Brown as a custodian. That is, while the legal title may be in Caleb and Brown's name, clients retain beneficial ownership at all times. They do not form part of Caleb and Brown's assets in the event of an insolvency. So if Caleb and Brown goes down, you are secure. Your assets are still protected with Fireblocks. The other one that I've heard from, and this is legitimate concerns and questions, guys. Once again, what's my incentive? My incentive is to make sure that our community knows their options for various resources and services when it comes to this digital asset space, right? I have affiliate links for some of these platforms that I like, but none of these guys are my sponsors. So I can say whatever I want. And what I want to get across to you guys is, here are the various options. Here's what some do. Here's what others don't. And it's up to you to decide who's going to service you best, right? Some people have mentioned they're concerned that Caleb and Brown's in Australia. And believe me, that's a concern for me too, right? The Australian government, let's not even get started. And we have some Aussies in the chat that can probably, there's some Aussies in the chat that can probably speak to that a little bit better than me. But the thing about Caleb and Brown being in Australia is that your assets are actually stored with Fireblocks, which is based in New York State, based in New York, and is a U.S. entity. And once again, if Caleb and Brown does go bust, we will not be a creditor, or we will not owe the creditors. Right? Our assets are not on Caleb and Brown's balance sheet in the event of insolvency. Okay? So I just wanted to answer that because I'd seen some people asking that question. Great questions to ask. And in fact, what I'm doing now is I'm going through Uphold. I'm going to be going through Coinbase. And I know the terms and conditions on Coinbase are not in our favor. But once again, this is why I don't put all my chips on these platforms. I conduct my business transactions and then I take my money and run. Or in some cases, I take my XRP and run. Yeah. Dennis, so Caleb and Brown did not post their coverage. It's Fireblocks. And so I have not seen the full policy from Fireblocks. I just have their blog post where they share, and they have all their links. And I don't know if I could get a copy of that. But this is important for everybody to be considering with all of these various platforms, because especially right now, as this liquidity crisis blows up, we don't want to be caught with our pants down, right? Yeah. Am I paid by Ripple? No. No, you guys know me. I'm not paid by Ripple. I'm not paid by any I don't have sponsors. The way that I've set up my platform is I have to produce good content to get paid. It's a simple platform. I have to produce good content to get paid because I get paid from ad revenue of people watching my content. I get people that use my affiliate links, and then people join my private community and buy our XRP family merch. By the way, dog tags are back in stock. If you want to get some dog tags, if you want to get some XRP family merch, that is how I am funded. Okay. Yeah, Joanna, yes, I'm glad that you appreciate that explanation. I saw a lot of confusion. A lot of confusion lately. I know, and the thing I want to be careful of, guys, because I know I was joking about this with Jim in Vegas. I said, Jim, you infiltrated the XRP army. Now everybody's shilling Caleb and Brown. I said, people are tired of hearing about Caleb and Brown already. And so you guys know me. I don't try to, hound you guys. I just try to say, hey, community resources are linked up down below. That's our word from our sponsor, which is yours truly. Yeah. Later days, I don't know why you would gravitate more towards Polysign than Caleb and Brown. Polysign's bust, my friend. I don't know if that was serious or a joke or if you got the memo. Polysign is no longer, essentially. Yeah. You guys are crazy in the chat. Somebody just said something completely inappropriate. I can't repeat it, but goodness gracious. Yeah. Is ZBCN still working with Ripple? I remember you saying something about that a few weeks ago. So they flirted out the partnership. I don't like when people do this because people like to do this to pump up their project. They'll say, "Oh, we're in a partnership. We're working on a product with Ripple." Okay. Now, with that being said, since I've done my deep dive on Zebek, I have seen nothing but positive growth in the fundamentals, and they've made more acquisitions. The number of holders has basically, when I did my deep dive, it was less than 50,000. There's over 75,000 people that hold Zebek now. The staking was at only 1 billion. Now there's over 3 billion Zebek stake last I saw. There's a bunch more. I'm going to do a follow-up on Zebek because I know a lot of people are worried about that pullback that we've seen, right? It's not done, in my opinion. It's not done. No. And here's what's interesting. I noted the red flags, right? I wanted to see more faces from the team. They've done a little bit better since I did my deep dive. They still could do a whole heck of a lot better. It's still not acceptable. Still need more from the team. More faces, more spaces, more content. They did a nice commercial. That's great. More. See, I'm big on marketing and PR, and nearly every crypto project drops the ball other than like Ripple, Circle, and a few others. Like even Circle, I think they could do better too. But Zebek, one of the red flags was the tokenomics. I don't fully know all of the lockups and the deals that they've done with early investors, but it doesn't seem like on the day where the token unlocks occur, we're not really seeing big drops in price. We're not seeing big dumps. So that was one of the red flags that I had on Zebek, was the tokenomics, and 2 billion Zebek getting unlocked every single month until March of 2026, and then it's done. So the inflation for Zebek stops in March of 2026, but in the meantime, it's 2 billion unlocked per month, going to early investors, insiders, team, etc., and staking rewards and stuff too. Nobody's dumping it though, from what I've seen. I mean, we had a dump, quote unquote dump and pullback after the sucker went into price discovery. That's normal. That's any asset's going to do that. XRP is going to do that. Does that make XRP a scam when it pumps up to $10 and then falls back down to 4? No. In similar fashion, Zebek went up to 3/4 of a penny, falls back down to 3/4 of a third of a penny, I should say. People freak out, and then that dip gets bought right back up. So it's holding up well. I don't think it's done. Zach, I'm starting to think that Joey is paying you to push, not a dime. Honest to God truth. And in fact, I canceled my next sell order on Joey. I have no sell orders on Joey right now on the token. Because all I'm concerned about now is onboarding millions of people to the XRP ledger. So I'm just holding my little Joey meme coin bag. But I asked Chris from the First Ledger and Joey Wallet team if they would have a referral link, because that's my business, is having my community resources and my links down below. But because it's just a wallet and they're not charging fees, there is no referral program. They have a referral program for First Ledger. I have that linked up down below for trading the meme coins. But that's because that platform takes a 1% fee for every trade. So they're making money off of facilitating that for you. Whereas the Joey wallet is similar to a competitor like Zaman. Zaman doesn't have a referral link either. So that would have been the only way that I would get paid by Joey. So no, I have not been paid by the Joey wallet team. In fact, I think that they're probably like, gee, mini Christmas. Here's Zach again talking about the Joey ticker, for crying out loud. But I know that they appreciate how much I've been talking about the Joey wallet, but it's only because I want to see 10 million. I want to see 10 million more people come to the XRP ledger. That's my incentive. See, it's funny. A lot of people think that, you know, in my position, in the influencer content creator game, that the only way to make money is just by doing sponsorship deals. And I've left a lot of money on the table, and a lot of guys make a good living just doing sponsorships. But my heart isn't just helping people. And I know that on the back end of onboarding 10 million people to the XRP ledger, my bags pump. So I don't need a check from Joey Wallet to get excited about the ability to onboard people in less than 60 seconds to the ledger. Onboard them with a Twitter, Google, or Apple account in 60 seconds. So I'm going to max engage for free because I know that it's going to pay dividends on the back. And I think that we all need to have that same perspective. You're not an influencer or a content creator, that's fine. But you can onboard a dozen people to the XRP ledger this month. I mean, we all want XRP to pump, but what are we doing to max engage? What are we doing to onboard people? Right? What are we doing to boost activity within our ecosystem? Where is it safe to stake Zebek? So if you go to zebek.io or something like that, like don't quote me on that, but it's like right on their website, they have an official place where you can stake. I'm not staking any, well, I'm out of Zebek right now, so I don't have any Zebek. And I'm not staking any cryptos right now. Probably leaving money on the table, but I plan on taking profits on every other crypto that I have besides XRP. I mean, we'll keep a little bit of XLM, XDC, and a few others, but you know, I'm going to fully exit every other crypto that I have is my plan. So I'm not staking anything, any cryptos at all. Zach, how do you think the hidden deal with BlackRock is with Ripple? Yeah. There's no way that BlackRock's not going to file a spot XRP ETF. They already have 70 billion assets under management in their Bitcoin ETF. That number's probably down now that the market's come down. But still over 60 billion in assets under management for just that one ETF. They're not going to let anybody else take that market. And after I was speaking with Sal Gaberte from Tucrium, he said the whole game in the ETFs is to be first. BlackRock has a unique advantage because they were able to provide the lowest fees when they went live with their ETF as well too. So that's really where they drew in the liquidity, was having the lowest fees. And then obviously they were in that first batch of Bitcoin spot ETFs that went live day one. But yeah, I see BlackRock and Ripple. I think that there's something there. There's always been something there. How do you see institutions offering staking or yield on a fluctuating asset? How does that work even in traditional markets? It's a good question, Jay Nicholas. And it's something that I talked about in a video that I did a few days ago titled XRP Staking and Passive Income. The point that I was trying to get across is that there is no native on-chain inherent staking available on the XRP ledger because our validators do not get paid anything. The old saying here in the XRP ledger ecosystem is the best incentive is no incentive. Our validators don't get paid. So what ends up happening is that the people that validate and run our network are just people that have legitimate business interest in the XRP ledger. The best incentive is no incentive. The people working on our ecosystem and validating our network really want to be here. They really want to see and secure the XRP ledger. And so what that means is that everybody who's calling their platform XRP staking is not staking your XRP. They're taking your XRP and then they're going to do something with it. Most likely get a loan against that XRP to then go trade somewhere else, or they're going to take a loan against that XRP to put it into treasuries, and that's how they're going to generate a yield. Now, we've seen Doppler, White Rock, and others come out with various offerings, and so far the returns that I've seen have been anywhere from about 3 to 4%. The problem with 3 to 4% is inflation's nearly 3%. And that's the CPI lie. And so that means that real inflation's double that, and that we should probably round up to 10% inflation. And if you, like me, go to the grocery store or buy any other necessities that are required for daily living, then you would know, like I do, that real inflation has compounded at levels of 50 to 100% plus since 2020. So 3%, 4%, 5% is covering our basis. It's not getting us ahead. Now, the some of these platforms are promising higher yields, like Flare. I think that Flare is going to juice their offering because they've set aside Flare tokens to do so. So they're going to be able to boost the staking incentives through the Flare offering. And what they're doing is they're locking your XRP up in what they're calling trusted environment. Basically, they're locking it up, and then they're taking and minting F assets on Flare, and then they're using that to support the validators in the Oracle providers within the Flare ecosystem, in the Flare network. So basically, you're locking up XRP. Remember, XRP can't leave the XRP ledger. XRP that exists outside of the XRP ledger is some sort of derivative or IOU product or wrapped version, wrapped token. XRP cannot leave the XRP ledger. So what you have to do is you have to put the XRP in an escrow or a trusted environment. Is the new vault. Basically, Flare's creating these new vaults, trusted environments. I talked about it in my Flare deep dive. And they're going to take in and mint you FXRP on the Flare network, and then that's where you're going to be able to earn your yield. That I'm expecting to be over 5%, maybe 5, 6, 7% is what I'm expecting the yield to be on Flare. And so that's going to be very attractive because it's probably going to be one of the highest yields that's provided on your XRP. I know Nexo is another platform that's offering yield on XRP. I don't know what they're doing to provide that yield. I know that Nexo was offering 8 to 12% at some time. I don't know if they still are. But the point being, guys, you have to trust somebody to generate that yield for you, because there is no way to generate yield on the XRP ledger by validating the network, by staking. There is no staking. You're giving up your XRP to somebody else, and they're going to do something to generate yield for you. Hopefully, generate yield for you. So right now, I'm sitting back and just watching all of these providers come out. JP Morgan last week said that they'll accept Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs as collateral for DeFi. I've been saying, you'll have suits, DeFi providers, and the AMM as options sitting across the table from you. I'm in no rush because, once again, I don't care to earn 4% on my XRP when this sucker's going to pump 400%. And I don't trust, I'm not going to name names, these little guys that have come out. You can pass me with that opportunity, my friend. Good luck. God bless. And the crazy thing is that some of these platforms have already taken in tens of millions of XRP. It's pretty crazy to watch, actually. People are like, hey, you trust me, bro, deal? Okay, sure. Take my XRP. Let's see what you can do. And I've seen a lot of people have been responsible. They've been saying, I put money in. I'm not going to say the names, but I put money in here and I'm just seeing what they can provide. I'm seeing what they can do, and I put in 100 XRP and I put in a few hundred XRP, right? So I've seen some people are being, they're dipping their toe in the water and not diving head in. Regine, thank you. Hey, Zach, thanks again. I received my Bearable Guy shirt and love it, man. Keep up the good work and let's all pray for the less fortunate and those caught up in this war. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate your support, guys. Working with my guy on actually bringing about some new merch as well, too. So we're going to have some new things up. We got more hats on the way. We got more designs on the way. We're actually going to be looking at making some merch for some other cryptos as well, too. We like to focus on the XRP family merch mostly, but there's a few other cryptos that we like, too. And we want to spread the word, right? Whether that be spreading the word about XRP or other cryptos, we want our entire industry to grow. So Catching up on comments and questions right now. Yep. Thank you for the super chats. Dennis, thank you. That BlackRock deal, yeah. There's a reason why Larry Fink didn't want to talk about it. Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Zach, how did your Bitcoin conference go? Well, I didn't go to the Bitcoin conference. I just went to XRP Vegas. I was going to go to the Bitcoin conference, but the maxis are too toxic. What are your thoughts on the scam of a project called White Rock? No comment. No comment. No comment. No comment is a comment, though, if you know what I mean. But I'm just going to leave it at no comment. No comment on that one. Let's check here, too, see if we have any breaking news. If we have any response yet. Iran says it will respond harshly against Israel and the United States following tonight's attacks. Yeah, Iran military Twitter, I don't know if this is legit. They said, remember, we didn't initiate it. This is not looking good. More protests and some riots taking place across the country. Nothing big. You know, a couple kiddos out disturbing the peace, playing around, not really too much. But I shouldn't be joking about that because the activated agents are the ones that we're worried about. That's a real threat. Okay. Yep. Joe says, I am going with Caleb and Brown. Thank you. And that's the thing, like I said, I keep a few of these guys in my pocket. I keep my options open. I use them for different reasons. I don't put it all on just one platform, that's for sure. Let's take a look at our markets right now. XRP already bouncing back. I'm telling you guys, the bots have been programmed to buy the dip. And so here we are. We're back up to 212 right now for XRP, back above 104,000 for Bitcoin. The market really digesting this. And, you know, I don't want to say that this is already resolved and that the bottom's in, because that's not the case. But the market is programmed to buy dips, no matter what's showing up. No Kings protest all over United States on Saturday. Yep, that's going to be taking place. Actually, I just thought about that. I'm gonna be on the move this weekend. I mean, I've been thinking about this, but yeah, I forgot that the protest there that day too. That's gonna be interesting. I might have some footage for you guys. I'm gonna be on the move. Rolling heavy though, you know what I'm saying. XRP strong, yeah, absolutely. We do got to get through the weekend. Yeah. A great point, Short Rambo. He says, Chris Palmer, if there's anything I've learned is don't get too greedy trying to time the dip perfectly. That's a good point. I've been trying to you know, teach us about that, about front running. You know, everybody talks about front running in the meme coins, right? But I've been talking about front running when it comes to just buying the dip on XRP. Don't get too greedy. Understand that a bunch of other people are waiting to buy the dip as well too. And that's why we haven't gone back below $2. We go back to 203. We go back to 206. We go back to 210. But we fall short of breaking through $2 because too many people want to buy the dip. So front run the dip buyers, and don't get too greedy. Yeah, it's great. Weekend could be rough because the volume will die off. So weekends are already terrible, but I'm worried that circuit breakers are going to be hit tomorrow in the stock market. And then the only place to pull liquidity over the weekend is crypto. And because there's always such low volume, it doesn't take much for the market makers to push it down. I was debating on entering a Bitcoin short, but like I said earlier, I didn't have the stomach in me to rush to make trades when all of this news was breaking. One, I was trying to just enjoy, some time with my family before I came back to the office to put in some more work. So I'm trying to enjoy some time with them while also observing Twitter and all the crap that's breaking out. And I just didn't have the stomach to trade, And so I thought about entering a Bitcoin short, but I just said, I'm going to let this one go. But how's everybody else doing out there? You guys already buy the dip? Who's already bought the dip? Montreal in the house. How we doing? Good to see you. Love my Canadian brothers and sisters up there. God bless you guys. Thoughts on ZBCN? Yeah, I already talked about them. I'll be doing a follow-up on Zebek here shortly, though. I will be doing a follow-up. Oh, it's Father's Day weekend too. That's right. Yep. 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 Dennis says, I bought yesterday again. Michael says, on 3 platforms. All is One says, yes, I bought the dip. Couldn't help it. 1970 Legend says, I'm having my mom wire some more funds to Caleb and Brown tomorrow. There you go. Yep. Broad bought it. Mr. Plow, Yahtzee. Yep. Antoine says, I had an order at 210, but I moved it down to 205. There you go. Yeah, you know what's interesting? I got my order at 203 on the futures, but the futures is actually trading at a premium right now. New Zealand in the house. How we doing? Montreal can't even afford that anymore. Yeah. I know. We're tired of buying the dips, aren't we? I know how it goes. Said not again. And I know because all of us YouTubers come out and say the same thing, right? Oh, another great time to buy the dip. To me, it goes without saying. The real ones know. Those with dry powder do it. And, here's the thing. I've been sounding the alarm about a recession and Main Street economy struggling since 2022. So, we've been trying to sound the alarm about getting ourselves liquid. First and foremost, focusing on income so that we have the ability to survive inflation and so that we have liquidity for buying these assets when they go on sale. Number one on my recession to-do list going back to 2022. Back when it was politically incorrect to call it a recession. Do I like SHX? Yes. Yeah. We're already back up and making money. That's, yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is I want to get back into an XRP long. I'm just kind of waiting. I'm playing it by ear on entering my XRP. Well, the thing is I already have my order set at 203, and then I'm just waiting with more capital on the sidelines to buy it if we go below $2. So that's how I stop myself from getting liquidated. I know a lot of people have been asking me on how do you trade futures. One of my tips, bet your entire bag. Like if your trading bag is $1,000, always keep, especially if you're using more leverage. Like I'm using 2.5x leverage on Coinbase. That's nothing. So I can ride, like on my XRP long contract that I just had, my liquidation price was like so low. And it would have even been lower because I would have bought the dip at 203. So it's like I already had my backstop set. At 203, my order would be filled. And then that lowers my liquidation price down even lower. And because it's 2.5x leverage, my margin of error is so big. Back when I traded futures back in 2022, in 21, I would only use 5x leverage. See, I've never been a 20x, 50x leverage type of guy. And what that allows me to do is then I go in with low leverage, and then I always have a backstop. I always have an insurance policy, which is more capital on the sidelines, so that if that price does come back down, I can just go in with more. When I was shorting Bitcoin and Bitcoin would pump higher, I rode some of my Bitcoin shorts down 30 and 50%, doubled down, and then rode every single one back to profit. I went on a Bitcoin short trading streak where I lost only once over the course of about 15 Bitcoin shorts. I went like 14 for 15. And it's because I always give myself margin for error. I'm not going to get margin called because I already got my liquidity ready to go, order set. So the world has to end for me to get liquidated. And even if the world is ending, I'm probably still filling my margin by buying the dip, and I'm probably still not going to get liquidated. But that's how I do it. The way that I trade futures is very low risk compared to the degens that are using 2050, 100x. What did MEXC introduce? 500x leverage? It's crazy. Israel is now warming up the Iron Dome and Iron Beam. Okay. I just watched XRP Unleashed this evening. I have to say it made me very proud to have believed in people like DAI, Brad Kimes, Mikkel, and Zach. Thank you, Zach, for making that 10,000 XRP vid in 2021. You know, it's funny. I saw people going back to my old whiteboard video of when I broke down what would happen to XRP if we got just 10% of Swiss volume. And I think in that video, I said that if we just got 10% of Swift, XRP would have to be over $1,000, I believe, is what I said. Maybe it was 10,000. I forget. That was back when I made videos talking about $10,000 XRP. But I've always presented it in a way of, here's what it would take for XRP to go to 10K. Not, hey, I'm hanging my hat on 10K. It's a done deal. Park it and forget it. Set it and forget it. XRP is going to 10,000. I've always made an effort to present it in a way of, here's what it would take for us to get to these levels. We would have to take 10% of Swift to see XRP go to $500, $1,000. In one of my most recent videos, I broke down how much I think that we would need to see in inflows to reach a $100 XRP. So I don't just pull these numbers out of my you-know-what. I try to have conservative assumptions, simple math. Here's what it would take. Is it going there for sure? I would never say that. But I refuse to rule out high prices for XRP because I refuse to rule out how much our currency can be devalued. See, there's two sides to the equation. How much does the dollar be devalued and how much does XRP appreciate in price? Those are going to go against each other. And eventually we will find out what the real fundamental value of XRP is. The audio is skipping. Why does it always, they always hack into my stream late night, right when we're having fun. Audio's good here. Okay. I had a ghost come into my office over the weekend, and so I came back in this week and my mic was jacked up and I was really mad about that, but I think that I got it dialed back in. I dropped one video earlier this week and the volume was like so loud. It was like you could hear every little breath and it was a little obnoxious. They're always hacking into my stream late night though, for whatever reason. Guys, I'm only going to go for 10 more minutes. I'm cutting this off at the 2-hour mark. So you got less than 10 minutes. Let's go rapid fire Q&A. If you guys haven't already, please, it really does help us when you like the content. It's free. You can smack it. You can tap it, whatever you're into. Just hit it in one way or another. And then ZachRector.com. I got quick links down below for our resources. ZachRector.com, whether it's precious metals, whether it's XRP family merch, whether it's exchanges, whether you want to join our private community, that's how you support our cause. And I couldn't do it without your support. Thank you so much. Let's go 9 more minutes rapid fire Q&A. I'll go quick with my responses. What's a good stock to buy right now? I'm only interested in private equity. I'm not really delving into stocks right now in particular. Only eyeing private equity. Thoughts on Caspa? I haven't taken a serious look at Caspa, to be honest. Oh, we already have a court of appeals granting Trump's motion to stay the National Guard decision pending appeal. Newsom will not take over the National Guard tomorrow. So we already have an appeal granted for Trump, basically a motion to stay. For those of you guys that missed it, earlier in the episode, we shared that this judge had ruled that Newsom was going to take control of the National Guard again in California. That's already been reversed. Yes, I knew if Dennis was still here that he was gonna shill us that Northern Dynasty Minerals. 50 to 100x, Dennis. Are you serious? I still got to take a look at that one for you, brother. I appreciate it. I appreciate the tip. Can you upload your live streams as regular videos? Yeah, they're all saved on the channel. I am now on my 3rd adult beverage. I don't know how you do it, Zach. Well, Daniel, the way that I do it is I spend so much time ranting that I don't even get to sip my adult beverage, and then I make it to the end of the night and I still have half of my adult bevy left. I gotta, I don't have any affiliate link for Stanley. Stanley doesn't need my affiliate link. They're already making so much dang money. And Wifey has a couple of these dang cups. I don't even know how much they... It's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. But I will say, this sucker does keep my adult bevy very cold. I will give... I got a nice Stanley thermos. A real thermos for putting coffee in. You know what I'm saying? Not these little sippy cups and we go around and we do our little errands and... I got a thermos for coffee, and I got a mug for my adult beverage. Okay? No sippy cups over here. Yeah. Right. So, guys, the next deep dive that I'm going to be dropping is SHX. I saw somebody just ask, what other altcoins do you like? Well, I've already gone through my list, right? XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, DEG. The most recent one, too, that we've talked about is Zebek. But then the next play is SHX. They are set to be basically finalizing their escrow. And so I believe that you're going to have a buy the rumor, sell the news event based off of that. But I'm also watching for that project to just start moving back up and really being seen as one of the more legitimate, if not the most legitimate, utility project on the Stellar network. And so, similar to Zebek, one of the reasons why I was bullish on Zebek is because the Solana ecosystem needed real utility. All of the degens were getting cleaned up in the memes, and their meme space was in shambles. Everybody realized that there's these cabal groups that were just pumping and dumping them one after another, rinse and repeat. And so one of my theses was, part of the thesis was, the degens are going to give in, call quits, and capitulate, and they're going to want to find real utility, and Zebek actually has something cooking. In similar fashion, I think that the same thing is going to happen with Stronghold. The nice thing about that one is that you can trade it to make more XLM, because it's a token on the Stellar network, or you can trade it to make more dollars too. But it's nice in that it's correlated with XLM. That's why I like trading these coins that are on the XRP ledger or Stellar network, is because you can use them to either make more XRP or you can use them to make more dollars, however you want to do it, right? But they're also kind of correlated with the native currency as well too. So even if the token's not appreciating in value, but XLM's going up, then you can still be making money. If it's appreciating against XLM, you're making money. If it's staying relatively the same against XLM, but XLM's appreciating, you're making more money. So it's a win-win. Obviously, in this environment, a World War III breaking out, they're both going down. So you're not hedged, against World War III by holding both. But you get my point. What is the best XRP meme coin to buy and hold? Holding meme coins is a dangerous game, my friend. I'm being very, very, very careful now. There's a lot of bag holders, and I hate to be that guy because people don't want to hear this, right? People want me to pump their bags. People are mad at me right now in the XRP community because I'm not mentioning their meme coin. And the real reason why I'm not doing it for a lot of these meme coins is because there's so many bag holders that I know are waiting to dump. And so if I go into them and I mention the coin, sure, it might pop off a little bit, but I know that all these bag holders already got their limit orders placed and they're going to be full clipping out of this sucker and dumping on my head and dumping on the head of my community. And so that's why I'm very careful when I mention any coins, whether that be low cap gems like SHX, meme coins on the XRP ledger, Zebek, all of those. The thing that I saw with Zebek is that they were less than 50,000 holders. I said the same thing when All the Money, right? Brad Garlinghouse at Apex, he said if he was going to buy any meme coin, it would be All the Money. And so I had an opportunity to jump in. I didn't. I'd already made my money on ATM when it first launched. I bought in within 30 minutes after it went live, and I got out within a few hours. Like I was in and out of there, and I doubled up on ATM, and that was a nice play. And ATM has just bled out ever since. But the thing about ATM is it was released by Xpector and Dirk, and they have a very strong community for their metaverse and Xpector. And so they were able to get a lot of people in on it. Like the holders on ATM is over like 13,000 last time I checked. But that's 13,000 bag holders. After a chart has just bled and bled and bled, and then it gets the Brad Garlinghouse God candle effect, guys are going to be waking up. Oh, crap. I can finally hit that sell button. And so I let my Discord group know, I think that was yesterday or the day before. I said, guys, if you've been waiting to get some exit liquidity on ATM, now's your opportunity. And so I could have got in on the pump because I was up. Basically, that was Tuesday. After the Tuesday night live show, when I hopped off of it, I saw that Brad Garlinghouse had put out the tweet. And I was thinking, oh, okay, I could go into ATM, get in and get out again. But I just let it go. And it did pump up nicely. but then it did have a nice drawdown. It hasn't gone back down to the lows that it was at, but definitely did have a strong sell-off. But that's the main reason why I worry. You know, you asked me what's the best meme coin to buy and hold on the XRP ledger. XRP is the best to buy and hold on the XRP ledger. I'm bullish on Sologenic, though. I will say that. I think that sucker's going to pump. I think that you got a 10x potential on Sologenic with ease. 10 to 20x potential on Sologenic. If you don't know about it, go watch my deep dive on Solo. It's in my 2025 coin review playlist. I think 10 to 20x potential on Sologenic's no joke. So, there's one play I'll give you. Velo. I know I need to do a Velo deep dive. Yes. Yep. I was trying to do Stronghold first and then Velo. Maybe I'll just step in and take a look at Velo while we wait for the escrow to be done with Stronghold. Although the Stronghold escrow might even be done tomorrow. I heard that they said it was going to be done like this week. So I'm hoping that it will be. Final questions, comments before we wrap up the show. If you haven't already, please make sure you've liked this video. Make sure you guys have subscribed and hit that notification bell. Corium, yeah. Corium, I'm bullish on, but the upside's limited. I need to go into that one, but yeah. The upside's limited. I see more potential in Sologenic than Corium for this bull run at least. Legend, let me make a note. I'll get your hat to you, brother. Legend, I'll send you a flex fit. The first one. Because we haven't even listed the Trump hats yet, but we're going to have them listed here shortly. Yes, Ripple is doing a buyback of their stock, not XRP. It's a buyback of their stock. I'm sure that there's already been some TikTokers that have put out, have you guys signed up for the XRP buyback at $175 per XRP? I'm sure that they have. The TikTokers, goodness gracious. No, it's the shares though. Good question. It's the shares of the stock in Ripple. So it's separate than XRP. But yes, they are doing a buyback, and I think that the new valuation was just shy of 30 billion. Yeah, it's a big one. Do I not like XCN at all? No, I still hold a bag of XCN, actually. I still think that it goes to 10 to 15 cents for XCN. Let me pull it up. What's it at right now? Oh, boy. Yeah. She's bled out for sure. But the upside, it gets even better then, right? Because if you get in on XCN right now, you buy this dip, and it goes up to the levels that I see it going to, you're talking about 6, 7, 8, maybe 10x, right? If you buy it right now and it goes up to 13 cents, you're at a 10x. The 3618 fib for me is right up here at 15, almost 16 cents. I think this is going to be the top. I don't think it breaks above 20 cents. All right, guys. On the way out, could you guys please make sure you've liked this video? If you want to support the cause, let's make sure that you guys check out all of our resources down below. ZachRector.com has everything available there for you guys, and all of my official links. Please watch out for the scammers. They're going to be running relentless once again as this bull run continues in XRP DeFi. I will never DM you. We're not going to message. The only place to reach out to me at is through my website, and if you're in my Patreon and Discord community, okay? I'm going to wrap up this show here now. Thank you guys for stopping by tonight. We're going to continue to pray for peace. We're going to continue to lock in our profit, and we're going to continue to fight the good fight no matter where we're at, whether you're in the United States of America with me, whether you guys are overseas, across the pond, in the land down under. I appreciate you. God bless you. Let's keep on fighting the good fight, okay? I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.